Daniel, how are you? Which part of the world are you in right now?
I'm doing well. I'm in North Carolina. I'm glad to be here.
Very nice to talk to you as well. Now, Daniel, I know that you've been doing a lot of AI work for the last maybe close to 14, 15 years, or maybe even a little bit more than that. But it's been a interesting ride, I would say, most specifically for the last 3 years. Give us a little bit of background on how you got to AI, just as a summary. I know that you talked about the fact that you worked in marketing, you've worked a lot of different roles in marketing, you've transformed a lot of marketing organizations, but give us the 2 minute summary so everybody else gets to know about it as well.
Yeah, so I think the current kind of paradigm of AI is really a lot about natural language processing meets automation.
Yeah.
And when you think about digital transformation, I think one of the reasons why marketing led me down the path is marketing is being digitally transformed by tech for the last 15, 20 years, like on a lightning speed course, from marketing automation to predictive lead scoring and so on. And so, all of the work that you have to do to understand how to deploy that kind of stuff and the change management and the people management and all that comes along, a lot of what we're seeing with the AI kind of wave that has hit us is how do we rethink processes? How do we rethink training? How do we rethink adding value with this new capacity? So for me, it's a lot about thinking through the systems and the process and the people and the enablement to really leverage the capacity that AI brings us.
When you've gone through a couple of transformation projects with AI, how do CEOs and how do founders think about transforming marketing with AI? How have you advised them to get started? There are a lot of different projects they could tackle, but what are some of the things that you have suggested are maybe low-hanging fruit or maybe where the ROI is very high?
Yeah. So I personally say follow the friction. I am a big fan of start narrow and get value fast. And so what I like to do is look for where is there friction inside the organization that AI can help you alleviate. So where does information get hung up? Where is it all in somebody's head? Where does it live in an Excel spreadsheet? Where does the decisioning basically stall out, or where does information flow stall out when you're trying to basically create value for your customers or for your employees? So you're looking for the friction, and then you're developing the use cases to eliminate that friction. And you have to start at a place that fits for your maturity and for where you're at from a data perspective and what your cost appetite is and things like that.
Yeah. Let me ask you something about AI, the way you are using it right now. I know that you had mentioned, I want to see that Asus machine again. That's really, really cool. So you have bought a gaming device, but you don't use it for gaming. What do you use it for?
All right. So, I got into this habit. I shouldn't say this out loud because I used to have to commute to Wake Forest University, which was
Yeah.
90 minutes one way. And so I would
Do you
do a
drive
lot of work,
or do you take
yeah,
okay.
driving. And so I would do a lot of work on ChatGPT on my phone. And I had GPTs loaded up and stuff like that where I could do things, create slides, whatever. And so I got into the mode of doing with AI remotely a while over time, but a long time ago. And what the with the capabilities that you get with things like Perplexity or Cursor or ChatGPT or Choose Your AI, you can do a lot hands free now, and you can do a lot of really productive stuff hands free. And so I made the connection that if you buy a mobile gaming computer, so an Asus ROG Ally X, is actually quite powerful of a machine in a mobile format that you can load Cursor onto, that can load GitHub
Wow.
onto, that you can. So literally, I can get my repo down from the hub onto the device, code with NLP on the device while I'm mobile, push it back to the repo, and then when I'm back in the office, I'm on my computer. But I actually use it to repo and modify my Obsidian knowledge graph, which is basically what I feed all the stuff into. So, because you can't really do all that stuff on a phone, and you can't do some of those things on a Mac, but on a gaming computer you can. So, that's how I got into it.
So what OS does it run?
It runs Windows 11. So
Oh, wow.
that's
So
why
you
I picked that
literally
one
can
actually.
have a hyper local. in a device. Very
Yeah,
cool. Very cool.
it's really
Talk to me
cool.
about talk to me about talk to me about how you are using AI on a daily basis. What are some of the use cases that folks could take away? You're a founder yourself. You started a couple of companies. You sold one. You've had a lot of success in transforming organizations. How are you using LLMs and how are you using AI for helping you with your daily work?
Yeah. I think about it all through the lens of what I call knowledge workflows, but basically you've got things that feed in and then out you get something of value. And so there's a lot of different knowledge workflows that I run. The most common ones that I use that really brought me personally a lot of value is how do I reduce my mental load and how do I basically get to a result faster? So I've got a workflow that I use regularly that it creates a series of things. I have a call, like a prospective call with a customer. It creates a brief from the call, and then it translates it into a product requirements document that then translates into a proposal that then translates into a like a champion artifact. And then when I deliver it and get feedback, I feed the feedback into it, and it reacts based on the feedback. So I have that flow, which is really helpful, just rapidly kind of teasing out what's the use case in the scenario and getting it written down. But I've got other flows for project management where I just brain dump into it and it pumps into my project management system. That's a big one I use. Personally, I made one of the first ones I made was for actually meal planning and grocery shopping. So now the tech has evolved a lot. Literally, just take a picture of your fridge, a picture of your pantry, and a picture of the whiteboard that has all the stuff on it that you know you want to get this week, and it will generate your shopping list based on your preferences. And before Instacart took it down, you could actually push it to Instacart and shop it, but Instacart took that capability down. So it's stuff like that where it's like, how could I just get faster results and not have to waste my time like picking stuff off of a list or compiling
I had
something?
a I had a very interesting conversation with a 26, 27-year-old entrepreneur, young guy based in San Francisco. Over the last 6 months, he's been dating this woman and he's been recording, either I guess for Instagram or whatever. They've been recording their videos of them talking to each other, whatever it is, right? Preferences like I like this, I like that. So he's taken that entire video set, uploaded it to ChatGPT. Now it knows her preferences perfectly. So when he goes out, if he wants to be able to get her something to gift, he goes go I don't know where he went. He went to probably a department store of some sort. He just took photographs and said, of these, which one do you think my girl would like? I thought that was one of the most interesting use cases ever. Now, ChatGPT knows everything that she likes, but more important for him, it simplifies the process of picking her a gift. That's ridiculously good.
Yeah, I mean, personally, it's those kinds of use cases that shine because really we're talking about a mentality shift of how do I get my work done? And if you have a use case that's personal to you, that's valuable to you, and puts you through those paces, then you have just observed, oh, that's how I get value out of AI. And so a lot of times those personal use cases are like the best ones because they're specific to you. And really what you have to do is shift your thinking of like, how exactly do I plug this in to get value? So I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how do you think marketing is changing with AI? I know a lot of people are using it for analysis. You mentioned you've done a lot of work with master data management, with CDP. That whole world is changing dramatically as well. The big challenge now, of course, is that a lot of the data that marketing has is just not clean and ready for AI. So there's a lot of opportunity to just make the data AI ready. But how is go-to-market and marketing changing with the LLM and the Gen AI world?
Well, I joke. I've gotten this question a few times, and I joke that the biggest thing that's changing is you can finally do everything you always wanted to do. And what I mean by that is how many times, especially in marketing, can you not do the one-to-one or not do the derivative content or not run the nurture play the way you really should have run it, or not segment down to the level that you really needed to segment because you just didn't have the time, like it takes a lot of effort. And so a lot of the things that you either brute force with money or you just flat out didn't do because you didn't have the time or the money, you can now do now because of AI workflows. So that's one of the big things that has shifted. And so the ability to just rapidly innovate, what you're doing and how you're doing it and learn from that is really taken off. But I mean, beyond that, I always talk about it as streamline, enrich, accelerate. So reducing the mental effort or load, that's streamlining, really getting it done the way you want to get it done. And then enrich is like getting a better outcome than what you could have gotten without AI. And then accelerate is about the pace at which you execute something so that you can accelerate the pace of learning and the pace of
Yeah.
innovation. And so in that context, enrich is a big one. So you think about your competitive analysis, maybe you looked at two competitors. Well, now you can look at 100 or maybe you looked at, so you did some customer interview. Well, now you can scrape Reddit and grab a ton of context. So stuff like that that just flat out wasn't even humanly possible before. That has really changed a lot too.
Awesome. Daniel, this was terrific. As I mentioned, my podcast is usually about 15 minutes. People listen to it on 1.5 speed. They really go through. So that's what I've seen, right? They do a lot of reps. They do a lot. That's all they're doing. They're in the gym. They finish it out, 15 minutes, 1.5 speed, and they're done. This was terrific. Thank you very much for
Perfect.
being on the podcast. And we'd love to be able to continue having interesting ways by which you're using not only your ASUS, but just how you're looking at workflow and automating as much as possible. Because it seems to me that all of the early early adopters who are really pushing the bar, pushing the envelope, seem to be using it just to do things that they previously would have had to hire somebody to do.
Yeah. Loops within loops within loops. Say you've got bots that run bots that run bots, and they all have their instructions, and that's where you start to scale. So it's fun. But yes, thanks for having me. I'm always glad to chat about it.